Hello.
Well, you wouldn't talk like that. You would talk like that.
I'm just trying to find out if this is on. Are you hearing that?
No.
Listen to me now and believe me later.
Good morning. How are you, Chris?
I'm pretty well, thanks.
Spring is
how
here.
about you?
I think I can make it through winter at this point. Pretty sure.
Well, it looks very green where you are.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm just trying to channel that and hope that it gets me through this gray season. No, long days, the legislative pace right now is really challenging. And, so much of the work that we do is checking in with other people who maybe aren't in the meeting that you're in, but you need to, you need to run something by them, which is why it was so nice to have Representative Hooper, chair of House Appropriations, come to the Climate Solutions Caucus yesterday. Post crossover, the appropriations bill is out of the House, and we're not quite in that end of the session negotiation. So she, she had the flexibility in her schedule to come and really talk with us about some of the opportunities that we have to do that sort of triple win of saving Vermonters money, stimulating the economy, and reducing our emissions. So that was a productive conversation.
And people may not know this, but because this was before we knew Bob the Green Guy bringing us a video update every week, there was a day when Mary was the co-chair of the Climate Caucus and Climate Solutions Caucus with me. Geez, I mean, maybe 6 years ago. It was a while ago, but
back when you were in the House, right?
Right. Yeah. And she and I were co-chairs. And it's interesting because you see a little bit of those values coming through in the budget. And as we start to think about the American recovery money coming out of Congress, that's really going to continue to be our focus. And so for people that actually watch this every week, our update may be a little repetitive, but that is the work in the legislature. It's fairly repetitive. Can be, or it builds, it takes time to build.
Right. But. Yeah, it's been a slow slog, just moving through all of our priorities. And I think, this week's one piece of movement that we should talk about is the Contractor Bill being passed out of the House. Finally, that's been sort of circling around for a while, bouncing back and forth between committees and the floor. So came through the floor. It's mostly about a consumer protection bill, but there is a COVID nexus and there's a climate nexus, and they're actually kind of similar because in the floor debate we heard folks pointing out that when the economy shut down last year and the governor was looking at how to get information out to different industries to let them know what the safety guidelines ought to be as they're reopening, we realized that we have absolutely no way to get that sort of basic information out to people who are working as contractors, who might be, jumping in a couple of trucks and, spending an hour on the road, with another human being, which we all know now is like, oh yeah, maybe you want to have a mask on, but the health department folks were really concerned about not having a way to get that information to people. And then, of course, consumer protection wise, it's just nice to have a listing of people who are considered to be in good standing, meaning that they, haven't been convicted of, shafting one of their clients in a previous project.
Fraud, for example. Yeah.
Yes.
I think, did I hear there's only been 13 states that don't have some kind of catalog?
Yeah, we're a rarity. And, the thing that really brought it home to me is, you can hire somebody to do $50,000 worth of work on your biggest asset, and they have no registration, no qualification on paper or anything. And yet I go to get a $30 manicure, and that person has to have 9 months of training, pass a national board test, and pay an annual licensing fee. And so it's like, okay, why do we have more protections for my manicure than we do for the roof that, somebody's putting on my house?
We've made these regs when there were straight razors because the barber is the same thing. They have the tons, and before we had nail guns, right? So,
Right.
so
Yeah.
maybe it's time to update. And obviously the energy component and code, and we there's changes to code all the time. The state needs a way to communicate with this cadre of professionals.
Yeah.
So hopefully we got there, and that's moving. The Senate has acted on that in the past, so presumably they'll get a good reception over on my side.
Which committee does that one go to? Because it came out of our housing committee as opposed to
Yeah,
our government
economic
operations.
development and housing is the same in the Senate.
Yeah.
Sorokin, the chair there, has been a booster of this concept for a while, so I'm hopeful there. And then we should tell people a little bit about this working groups we set up with the Climate Solutions Caucus, because we're always asking for help and input from people. But and Mary Hooper made it clear, the chair of the Appropriations Committee, that we're still learning how this money's going to come down. But the short story is we have $1 billion crudely coming out of Congress. Can we just pause and say,
billion with a B?
well, that's a lot, but we seem to have leadership and help coming from the federal government on issues like climate and health and consumer protection and
basic infrastructure. Yeah. Wow.
This is quite a change.
Yeah.
So $1 billion, 3 years to spend it. There will be rules about how we can do it, which are coming out, we hear, in May, but who knows. And so ready, legislature, 180 people, go figure it out.
Right.
That's like a thrilling challenge, and we got to make it count for something. You talk about the triple aim. Tell me what it is again.
I don't know. I think it changes. It's roughly like, let's figure out how to save Vermonters money, stimulate the economy, and reduce emissions.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect. And they go together. And so the Climate Solutions Caucus, because we operate between committees and hope to have a little bit of a broader view, we're trying to say to our people, let's figure this out, and let's help the Mary Hoopers and the appropriations committees and others come up with ideas that make sense.
Yeah.
So we divided ourselves into 4 working groups. We gave ourselves, this is like a flash assignment here. And we'll just tell you about that. I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know.
Can you rattle them off? You got them in the back of your head?
Well, I have notes right here.
Oh, okay.
So one is equity. This came up as we were talking about it for a lot of people. Equity can't be an afterthought. You can't have ideas and then say, hey, are we being fair to people? Are we recognizing low-income families get walloped by floods, for instance? Are we recognizing historic disadvantage of people of color, et cetera? So equity, we're going to try to have the idea is that this works with everybody coming up with ideas, a group of people that just have their eye on this. So that'll be good. Food systems. Continually recognize that agriculture and food systems and food waste is a high level of source of emissions. That's what I'm trying to say. Right. In the worldwide battle. Now, Vermont is doing some good things because we already compost our food, et cetera, et cetera. We have a lot of ag possibility. And the idea is, with some fusion of money, could we take it to the next level, right? Excuse me. Could we do better delivering local food to people? And tons of exciting things have been happening in the agricultural sector in the last several years, including a quick response during the pandemic where farms couldn't go to the farmers market. So they set up CSAs, they set up farm stands. Could we take that infrastructure to the next level? Do you have any of them, or should I just?
Oh yeah, no, I'll jump in and say the next one, because it's sort of in line with the focus of my committee, which is municipal issues and school issues. So there's going to be a lot of infrastructure money that's going to come from these federal bills. We also know that we have aging school buildings that that need to be insulated, need to have their heating systems replaced, or possibly school districts that just need to build a new school building. So this infrastructure money will be very helpful for our school districts. But also think about our municipal buildings, right? So we've got infrastructure money that's going to come directly to our to our towns. And, municipalities can think of any number of ways that they might want to spend that money. Maybe there's a critical piece of sidewalk that's missing to link people from one part of town to the other. Maybe there's just crumbling sidewalks and it's hard for people who are in wheelchairs or pushing a stroller to get around. So we want to make sure that that municipalities are investing in those kinds of things. But then, all of our towns have municipal buildings. You got your town garage and your town hall. Let's think about whether those need to be insulated or renovated, or maybe a heating system gets replaced. And from a climate perspective, we don't want to bake in 30 years of number 2 heating oil. So,
Right.
Lots of opportunities there.
Or furnace swap outs, or put some solar on the roof. And, so again, this is what we call one-time money. So it's an infusion of cash and then it goes away. So solar, as an example, is great. Pay for it up front.
Gift that keeps on giving.
Cut the town's electric bill. We don't have influence on this money. It's important for people to understand that schools and municipalities are going to get it directly from the federal government. So our hope here is to help people brainstorm, engage with local energy committees, which there are all over the state, and just try to help them put some ideas on the table. Here in Chittenden County, we've been shooting for a pedestrian bridge over the interstate to connect South Burlington with Burlington, where people go to work at the hospital, at UVM, for instance. So big employers, people should be able to bike and walk there easily. That would be an example. We have a bike path we just learned going in between connecting Colchester and Essex. Good ideas like that. So anyway, I think that one's very exciting. And actually the Climate Caucus, our folks were gravitating to that because I think legislators, we've all been stuck in our homes and we're thinking about our community maybe in a different way. The last working group is I also think is exciting. It's going to be harder, but it's workforce. No matter what we talk about, if it's broadband build out, weatherization, even bike paths and those kinds of planning things, at the end of the day, we've got to do what we can to make sure there are people to do those jobs. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we have young people who are saying, it's hard to find jobs. You have employers who are saying, God, we wish we could hire more people. Yeah. I mean, this should all fit together a little more smoothly if we can pull it off.
So the workforce one is maybe the toughest nut to crack, but we do have great capacity around the state in terms of our tech centers that could be doing, evening classes for adults who are already out there in the workforce and just want to get some new training. And we could be using our state college system to provide some of that workforce development. So a lot of exciting opportunities. It's fun to be able to be in the position where, we have a, hope and an idea that things are going to get better in the future. Post COVID, we're all itching to have something a little bit more hopeful and engaging in our communities. And it sure is nice to have leadership out of Washington, D.C. that recognizes that climate change is a huge threat, and maybe we ought to join the rest of the world in doing something about it.
Well, and in a way that reorganizes the economy a little bit, to recognize that, the very narrow slice at the top have been booming and the rest of us struggling. That's just not healthy. Mm-hmm. It's not sustainable. And along the way, if you save people money on their energy bills, we make it easy to reduce emissions. We have a shot, right?
Yeah,
we have a
absolutely.
shot. And with our rural nature, the connection to agriculture, the value of sustainable agriculture in emission reductions, that says to me that if we do a good job with this opportunity, that in 10 years, I'll be long gone from the legislature, but I hope you and I will connect and we'll clink glasses and think, we had a little part of this in that's right. We'll get on the video. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Just for old time's sake.
And just sort of think, yeah, we didn't just blow this money helping a few businesses get, limp along. We really transformed, some of this infrastructure and some of the just the bones of what the future is, as opposed to, trying to make up for the crises we had a decade ago, I guess.
Well, it's pretty exciting the pace at which our climate progress has really picked up in this state, with the Global Warming Solutions Act going into law and the Climate Council setting up their subcommittees, and somewhat universal agreement across the administration and the legislature that's important.
I think we should give the governor props. They came out with their proposal this week, and it had a big slug for emission reductions, climate work, $100 million or something, sort of saying the Climate Council is about to come out with a plan. That's not going to be free. Here's some setting aside some money. And look, I've been quick to criticize the governor when he deserves it. I'll give him credit for doing that. There is a growing recognition. You can build the economy. It's your triple aim. I'll just call it Sarah's triple aim.
I'm sure that's how the governor refers to it.
Excellent.
Well, this has been great fun. It's always nice to see you on a Friday morning. I look forward to the day when we can do this in person back, in the State House, maybe in the next legislative session. But for now, we'll keep doing these videos remotely from our opposite corners of the state with the help of Bob the Green Guy. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. Nice
and
to see you.
Thanks to everyone who's been tuning in and taking these ideas back to your communities and talking it up. Let's figure out how to meet those triple aims.
Help us brainstorm. Thanks.